Hey, beta, updates. Y'all feeling it? I'm feeling it, y'all. Oof, Lord Almighty. After a long wait, Pandala Awakens Part 2, aka Plantala, coming at us from around the corner. I'm excited, you're excited, we're all excited. So the beta related to this update is out, and I come and posted a huge chunk of information about the update. Was it worth the wait? Was it worth a whole year? Let's find out on this episode of Dofus Touch Talk Radio. What a happy coincidence. Just as the beta opens a doorway to the next Dofus Touch update, a devlog leaps out of the woods to fully explain what will be featured. The next Dofus Touch update is fast approaching. There are 2 ways for you to learn all about what's in store. Participate in the beta or read this devlog. Or just listen to this podcast and learn everything you need to know. And nothing's stopping you from doing both. Alright, they got a nice little intro there. Changes to the beta. The beta is changing. Read this article to discover all the ways it'll work differently. Attention, you will need to update the Dofus Touch application in the Apple Store and Google Play Store in order to access the beta. Of course. Alright, that was a warm-up. Plantala, the roots of evil. Dang, how evil are we gonna get? Dofus Touch has cleared your path using a machete to a lost territory, a forgotten one. Move aside the last few branches, and should you decide to venture there, always bear in mind that despite its trappings, its beauty, its nature, it's often dangerous. And if you run into Damadraya, the forester, be sure to ask what in the world happened to her. Damn, what happened to Homegirl? I guess we're gonna have to play to find out. This is cool. I like how they add a little bit of flavor to these posts. It's not just like, here it is, guys. Enjoy. So, I appreciate that. This brand new zone includes over 30 new maps to explore, a new level 200 monster family, a new dungeon and its keeper, new achievements and quests, daily missions, a new set and a new Dofus, and other surprises for the curious among you. Ooh, sign me up. This sounds good. Okay, so let's dive into this little bit here. Over 30 new maps. Sounds like a decent chunk of added content. A new level 200 monster family. Interesting. So is this going to be just a level 200 expansion? And the way it reads, we're only getting one new dungeon out of this, which is a little underwhelming considering all this time they had to work on this thing. New sets, that could be cool. And of course the new Dofus, which I haven't seen any details about it, so I can't say too much on it. I just hope it turns out to be something viable, something people use, and something that's pretty awesome, especially if you run the whole quest line, and it's a nice little payoff at the end. But that's pretty much all they say regarding the new kind of story-related content, which is good. Just keep it spoiler-free. Let people discover it for themselves. But in addition to the story content, we're getting a bunch of changes to the game as well. It looks like a lot of updates, a lot of tweaks. So let's go through them. They have a section here, equipment changes. The altruistic passive for shields have been changed. It now grants the bearer a 15% bonus to healing received on all turns. Okay, that's pretty cool. That passive is it's been pretty lackluster, honestly, especially on the shield. I still think it's kind of like the weaker passive out of the 3 or 4 that we have right now. Obviously, the MP one being like the best one. But it does make it a little bit more usable, especially for tanky builds that really need to heal off that damage. But it's still kind of a little bit better, but still The characteristics of the cool set have been changed, as well as how to acquire it. It must be crafted using classic recipes. This change definitely affects those people who just run Coolest Dungeon to get the boots to crush for the MP runes. But other than that, I don't see this being like a big deal. I haven't looked at the changes myself, but I would imagine I don't know because Coach said what's the set that always had like the negative stats on them, so I don't know if they just got rid of that and make it a little bit more viable. But no, it's cool. The NPC Koalak Master has been renamed Regrulax. These names, these are so weird. The NPC now asks for a Coolidge Ensis instead of the Coolidge set. Okay, and that's what they have with the equipment changes. Oh, this is interesting. Changes to the Emerald Dofus and trophies. The Emerald Dofus and associated mechanics have been changed. The Emerald Dofus Vitality stat is now set to 300. I think that's awesome. But let's keep going before I give my thoughts. You must now be at least level 120 to equip this Dofus. These changes are retroactive. So that means if you have an Emerald Dofus, it'll get updated to a fixed 300 Vitality bonus. This Dofus remains unlinked. Kind of makes sense since it's something you drop. It is no longer possible to get this Dofus from the Dark Vlad Doppel. The fight with Dark Vlad, which allows you to get this Dofus, has been changed. Okay, interesting. The fight now starts through a dialogue with an NPC. Each character can only fight Dark Vlad once every 24 hours. Whew, thank you. That's definitely a welcome change there. It is no longer possible to ask the Trofair Clairvoyant for information about Dark Vlad. Okay, that's kind of random. Okay, so let's go back. 300 Vitality on a Dofus. I think that's a pretty good change. Prior to this, the maximum HP you could get out of it was 100, which I mean at the early levels it's not bad, but once you get up there, high end game, it's pretty useless. And I don't know if they listened to my rant about the Emerald Dofus. I forgot what Touch Talk Radio episode it was, but the Emerald Dofus just kind of it's lame and it sucks, and something should be done about it because like my point was like it's like the kind of like the icon of the game. It's like the poster child of the game. So imagine like say Pokemon, right? Their mascot, their most recognizable thing is Pikachu, right? So when it comes to the game, Pikachu's everywhere. You see Pikachu on the promotional stuff, advertisement, commercials. He's the mascot, right? So if Pikachu was like the Emerald Dofus, imagine when you play the game, you had a very small percentage to encounter a Pikachu. Very small. Less than 1%. I forget exactly how it is, but you have to be lucky, pretty much, to get a Pikachu. And once you get him, he sucks. That's pretty much what the Emerald Dofus has been in a nutshell. Just this useless thing where it's like, when it comes to like the story, lore, and context, this is supposed to be this powerful object, right? But in the game, it's more like a novelty type of thing. So I'm super happy about this change. 300 HP. That's like up there with like a Drago Turkey. I could definitely see just tanky builds use in Emerald Dofus, and of course, I think what did they say the minimum level was? 120. So I mean, 300 HP at a level 120. I mean, that's like a chunk of survivability for your character. So yeah, I'm definitely happy. I feel like it's kind of random that it happened too. I am saddened though that because it's still like a something you drop. I don't think we're getting like questable primordial Dofus anytime soon. Otherwise, they would have waited to make that change till then. So I'm a little sad about that. And also, I wish the Emerald Dofus did have like a passive spell. something. Again, it's supposed to be this powerful artifact, powerful object within the lore of the game. But I'm happy. 300 HP sounds super awesome. And it continues. We took this opportunity to tweak certain trophies associated with the vitality stat. Major Survivor now grants a vitality bonus of 120. Survivor now grants a vitality of 60. Minor Survivor now grants a vitality of 30. So I believe all three of these got a buff. I know Major Survivor gave like 80 HP. So it now goes up to 120. So cool. This got a little bit of buff. But yeah, I'm happy the Emerald Dofus got a pretty big change to it, finally. And so a little bit of a clap to Ankama to finally recognizing how terrible that thing was. It only took 5 years. But yeah, people with characters that are more like tanky, more defensive, should definitely be happy. And they should definitely check out the Emerald Dofus now as part of their set. Alright, moving on from that subject, damage previews. Previewing damage has been added to combat to make it as precise as possible. We took the opportunity to fix various server-side problems to manage as many special cases as possible. It's possible that a small number of these are not yet properly managed, but we will continue to iterate on this feature over the course of multiple updates, particularly as part of balancing and class revamps. For now, this feature will be turned off by default, and it will need to be enabled in the game options. Okay, so this is more like a little quality of life improvement. So I'm guessing when you go to confirm an attack on an enemy, it's going to show you your damage range that you're going to do to it, which it kind of helps mitigate some of like the guessing game of like, oh, am I going to do enough to kill this thing, enemy, person, or what have you. Yeah, it's a cool change. I like it. Interfaces. Multi-line damage is now grouped in the chat during combat. Okay, that's cool. So that's kind of like the PC Dofus, where it shows you the total amount you did, and then in parentheses it shows you the individual damage lines. A new quest room is available in the chat. This will display NPC dialogue. Okay, another little bit of quality of life stuff. A notification has been added to the chat for the sale of a house. So I'm guessing when you sell a house, you get notified instantly. Quest levels have been added to the quest book. It is no longer possible to get around the limit on sending consecutive messages in trade and recruitment channels. This limit is now 3 minutes instead of 2 in the recruitment channel, as was already the case for the trade channel. The anti-flooding system in the chat has been improved. Ooh, are they coming after the lottery sapbot? We'll see. That guy, he's a very resilient bot. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the effects of that. During the bonus XP events for professions, the preview of experience gain now updates correctly. Neat. The rewards for certain achievements were sometimes repeated visually. This problem has been fixed. Okay, yeah, so I would get this sometimes where like I would unlock an achievement and it would show it twice. But when you redeemed it, it worked fine. So it was just more of a visual bug. Certain buttons on the game login page would redirect incorrectly. This has been fixed. The icon for Ragnarok wanted notice in the screen fight has been corrected. Okay, and that wraps up interfaces. Next up is quests and achievements. It is not possible to open the bestiary to the associated monsters when there is an active wanted notice in the quest book. It is no longer possible to receive bonuses from a pet when completing quests that transforms the player's characters. Okay, so I've heard in regards to like when you're doing the ice Dofus, when you do the pirate ship, the sunken pirate ship part of it, when you get transformed into one of the pirates, I heard that you could equip knockback pets to increase the damage. So it looks like that's not possible anymore. Soul capture stones acquired during the quest and Eternal Harvest are now linked to the character. Okay. For a second, I thought the quest wasn't going to give out soul stones anymore. Which I think that's how it is on the PC version. You just have to craft them. But once the stones is full, the link is removed, so the item can be traded normally. So I can only think of one thing of why they would do such a change, and maybe people were making characters just to collect the soul stones, and they would sell the soul stones. People are cunning like this, so maybe that's why they made this change. But yeah, it shouldn't affect people doing the quest at all. In the quest Maya the Beautiful, it is no longer possible to get stuck in the step requiring you to defeat the Vestal Barbarians. The text in the quest band analysis has been corrected to give the right location of the bandanas. I don't recall what quest that refers to. It's not ringing any bells, but it got fixed. The quest A Questionable Collection has been fixed. Going to the entrance of the Quackwest nest properly unlocks a objective. If the player already has a soul capture spell, the quest will correctly disappear from the quest book. The quest Instant Delivery redirected to a map that was inaccessible to the world map. This problem has been fixed. The quest See Dark Vlad and Live can once again be started properly. When the quest Crybaby is completed, the associated quest items are not properly removed from the character's inventory. The achievement Public Treasury will validate right away without you needing to log in and out. In the quest Illumina Nui, if the player leaves the island before reaching the sap, they can now return to -73, -12 to use a boat and not get stuck. Okay, so yeah, when it comes to quests, it's just a bunch of little fixes here and there. Some quality of life stuff, some fixes, and yeah, nothing too crazy going on there. In this next little section, they talk about daily missions. A new room has been added to the Almanac Sanctuary located at -424. There, you'll be able to meet a new NPC, Ecot Axe, who will let you battle any resource protector, if and only if you have the associated daily mission. Okay, so I appreciate this change because when the daily missions first came out, I kept getting the fight the protector missions, and I don't know what it was, but when you're looking to get into a fight with protector, it just doesn't happen. so that those missions were like it was completely random, right? Because those encounters are kind of random. So you could be there for a while trying to get into a fight with one of those. So I appreciate that change. New daily missions have been added for the fisherman profession. New daily missions have been added with the new monsters from the bosses in Plantala. New cosmetic rewards have been added. I'm a sucker for cosmetic stuff, but not when they don't go with my characters. So I'm happy they added more cosmetic stuff, because right now they had like the green helmet and like the cape, and yeah, it didn't match any of my characters, so I was indifferent about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing the new stuff from the daily missions. But yeah, that's it in regards to that subject. Monsters and bosses. Deactivation of the Psylark's invulnerable state now always lasts until the last player who triggered deactivation begins their turn. Okay, so yeah, I think it's a little bit of a nerf to that dungeon, and should make it just a tiny bit easier, which when it comes to F3, and it's definitely a welcome change. So I've slowly kind of been working on a guide for Nilesa, and I have this little section where I compare it to the PC version and how different they are. And yeah, I was surprised how drastically nerfed the PC F3 dungeons became. Like Touch has them in hard mode, and I wish we had those changes here because they're brutal. I'm not gonna lie, Untouched F3 is brutal, especially if you have an unconventional team running the dungeon. So, but that's a subject for another time. HP and experience provided by the Scale King are adjusted based on the number of players in combat. The heavy state is now shown as one of the Scale King's effect. The Ghost Tanuki-san monster Rickshaw spell now repels units by 6 cells, 8 if a critical hit, instead of 8, and instead of 12 if a critical hit. Okay, yeah, those changes seem kind of random. F3, the pyramid guy, and then the one of the ghost monsters from the panda area. So these next sections they have here, they have little tweaks on the classes. So if you play a Kra and Iripsa, an Inu, Fogger has a handful of changes it went through. I know during the revamp it got some changes, so I don't know if they're kind of going back on some of that stuff, or I don't know what the deal is. But there's a good chunk here under the Foggernaut section. So I'm excited about this one. So if you guys keep up with the channel and you guys seen some of my run it videos, some of my dungeon guides, I run an agility Osa, which is kind of an orthodox build, especially compared to chance and intelligence, which is what most people run. But I love my agility Osa, and yeah, it's got a little bit of a buff. So gust damage has been increased at all spells levels, which I'm excited for. When a critical hit is landed on a targeted summon, the spell cast is now correctly a critical hit as well. Yeah, that spell Gust, it's always been funky when you use it. There was no point to use it on a summon, except for the rare instance where you need to push back something. But when you would use it on a summon, the damage, the AoE damage was halved for some reason. It was weird. So I'm glad they kind of adjusted that a bit. And Crow, the spell's damage is increased for 1 turn each time it is cast. Must be on a target. Yeah, so I'm excited. I think people are sleeping on Agility Osa. It does take a little bit of work to get it going, but it's a fun class. It's a fun build, and and then even during the revamp, in September, they buffed the boar summon. So yeah, I think they're trying to make it more appealing, I guess. But yeah. Pandala has some updates, sack rare. I won't get into these because we'll be here forever. Saram, Seller, Doppels. Let's see what they have to say about the Doppels. We were able to identify the source of the issue concerning the damage of the Doppels and have corrected it. Okay. And, so that wraps up the class changes. Here's a little section to have removal of the pet sanctuary. Shoot, I didn't even know that was a thing still. Yeah, so, okay. The pet sanctuary dungeon has been removed from the game. RIP. I don't think anybody's going to be sad about that. We found the mechanics associated with it no longer to be worthwhile as such, and wanted to wipe the slate clean while using the opportunity to tweak mechanics that went along with it, including pets. The feeding period for pets will now be the same for all. The minimum time is 5 hours, and there is no there's no maximum. A pet therefore can no longer starve to death or request food. Okay, this is a good quality of life change right here, because those pets, honestly, they're a huge pain in the butt and a huge hassle, and trying to keep up with them, trying to feed them. And especially maxing one, when you max the stat on one, you still had to keep feeding it. It doesn't affect me too much. Recently, I completed my final pet that I was feeding, and it was a Pecky, and I took it to 440 HP, and it was a relief, because that was the last pet I had to feed, and I didn't have to log in 3 times a day to feed it. But even then, even after I maxed out my pets, I would just carry them in my mount and just forget about them. Because in the mount, they wouldn't die. So, awesome change. Awesome change. Hormones cannot be used on the corresponding pets. For example, an Atuin hormone will heal an Atuin pet to heal them for 5 health points. Okay, so are they getting rid of the Eniripsa powder? Crescent powder is now crafted using the alchemist profession. The pet sanctuary area no longer exists and has therefore been removed as a pet's favorite area. The NPCs Wallach and Oshima are no longer in the game. And finally, the NPC Oshimo, located at 921, now offers a resurrection powder for 50 Eniripsa powders. Okay, yeah, so they don't really, so Eniripsa powders don't work on pets anymore? Yeah, so that's a little bit unclear, so you might have to go into beta and check that out. But yeah, I'm happy pets won't die, because yeah, those were annoying. Technical restructuring. Let's see what they have to say about this. As we announced in early 2021, we wanted to use this year to improve certain parts of our infrastructure. This update deals with a very big chunk of the server infrastructure, which has taken up a large second half of the calendar year. We won't go into specifics, yeah, of course, but these changes are necessary to ensure the sustainability of the project and resolve certain technical issues we've encountered fairly regularly in recent months and years. They will also eventually improve working conditions for our production team, thus boosting turnaround and efficiency. As the beta version has shifted to the new infrastructure, you may run into certain issues. Please let us know about them through our various media. I don't know about y'all, but they said a whole lot of nothing here. But let's keep moving on here. So this last little section is just called miscellaneous. At the end of each dungeon on Odomai Island, you will now get a key to the next dungeon instead of the key to the completed dungeon. Except for the lair of the giant Kralov. Oh, the Kralov. Shout out to the people who've seen the Kralov guide. In addition, these keys can now be made by the handyman. Oh, I thought, okay. I was under the impression that it was a thing already, but okay. Exploration achievements no longer grant experience. Instead, they offer teleportation potions as a reward. I'm sure that's a change to combat some of the OSA bots. When a character dies in areas linked to the Dragons, the character now reappears in the cemetery of the tortured area. The Drodat and the Charming Tofu can now be fed the following monsters. Okay, so they feed on the bee-works up in Kanya Forest. It is no longer possible to summon monsters apart from capturing souls in arenas in Bontan Brakmar. Okay, so that's a change to the... I'm sure you guys seen these, like this weird kind of items where it says like summons a level 5 monster. Kind of random, but they made the change, so... the price of whetstone items sold by the NPC Rich Claymore has been lowered to 1,000 camas apiece. When learning the farmer profession in Incarna, the player is no longer told to acquire the proper tool, since the profession doesn't require a special tool. The NPC foreman Ikur didn't suggest the player forget a profession when they had already learned 3. This issue has been fixed. Remove the NPC Faro and Goss's dialogue incorrectly, telling the player he wasn't a farmer. This had no actual impact. Okay, random. The placement slots on the Colosseum map, which were asymmetrical prior to a fix applied earlier this year, has been adjusted. It is now possible to properly use multiple emotes in a row without having to move your character. The pet Ferner now has a maximum characteristics when purchased in the shop. This change is retroactive. You know what? I always felt like the pets you buy with like real money, like real currency, should always come maxed out. Just because, I mean, that's you're paying for it, so it should be one of the perks, right? Dofus Touch and Ankama anniversary decorations have been removed. Okay, that's pretty obvious. Several texts has been corrected. And finally, several maps in the World of the 12 have been fixed. And there you go. That wraps up their beta notes, their updates, and what they have coming for us coming December. My only concern from reading this is that Pandala Awakens Part 2 is not going to be as big as the first part. I mean, Part 1 had a lot of stuff. I mean, it came with a whole revamp of the section. Water Dala, Air Dala, Terra Dala, and the Fire Dala. 4 dungeons, all new NPCs. I mean, it was a massive update. Yeah, I'm sure, COVID, the quarantine, that threw a curveball into their production schedule and their pipeline. Like, that thing affected everybody. So I definitely understand, like, the long wait, the whole year gap in between Pandala Awakens and Plantala. That being said, though, I'm excited to check this out. I'm excited for the Emerald Dofus. Who would have thought, right? And I'm excited for the bus for the Air Osa. I know I said I probably won't do any content for beta in regards to Plantala, but we'll see. We'll see. I've just been super busy right now with a new job. I just moved into a new place. So I really want to get out more videos with the Run It series. You guys seem to really enjoy those videos. And they're fun to make. They're fun and easy, which definitely helps with my current busy schedule. Like, shoot, I've been so busy, I completely missed the Al Howen event again for the second time. But fortunately, I was able to get some of those resources fairly cheap, so I can make some of the equipment. But I really wanted to do a dungeon run with the Halloween event, but just wasn't able to get to it. But hopefully I can get back on track with some content for you guys. Run It. I have another series kind of in the same vein. Dungeon guides, more information videos. So we'll leave it at that. And thank you so much for tuning in and going over the beta notes for the upcoming update. And until next time, this has been Challenger EX with Dofus Touch Talk Radio. Take care of yourself.